Welcome to Red Story. Subscribe and like it. I think it's not difficult for you. Thank you, thank you. My cheating wife panicked and begged for forgiveness, but she will face the consequences she deserves. I discovered my STDXW, soon-to-be ex-wife, cheating about 7 months ago. I went through all the heartache, denial, pain, and pick-me attempts. I was seriously depressed for a long time. I never confronted her, but I was a total mess. She must have known I knew, but she just didn't care, I guess. Or at least I assumed that. About 2 to 3 months ago, I was just done with it all. Done with her, done with the marriage. I just didn't care anymore. I completely checked out of the relationship and started preparing for divorce and my new life to come. I avoided my wife as much as possible. I tried to stay out of the house when she was home. I would not engage in conversation. When she asked me a question, I would only answer with yes, no, maybe, or I don't know. I even left the divorce lawyer's bills out in the open. She must have known I was checked out and preparing to divorce. The kids even asked me about it. They could see what was going on. I even did the "we both love you" speech, explaining that it wasn't their fault and sometimes grown-ups can't be together anymore. My wife was actually in the room when I talked to the kids. She didn't comment or object. I took her silence as consent. Anyway, a few days ago, I met a girl I used to know in school before I ever met my wife. We always had this tension between us, some kind of chemistry. We would always flirt and be touchy, but we never actually did anything about it. Let's call her Monica, because she looks like Monica Bellucci. Monica and her family moved away before I found the guts to actually do anything about it. I regretted that for a long time, but I was young, shy, and stupid. I hadn't thought about Monica for a long time, and I hadn't seen her for years, but as soon as we met again, the tension between us was palpable. More than I remembered. Communication was effortless. She actually asked me out. I explained the situation with my STDX dog. I told her I wanted to be officially separated before I started dating because I wasn't going to cheat. Monica respected that. She gave me her number and told me to give her a call as soon as I was done doing what I had to do. She told me she never married and was really excited to get to know me again. I was even more excited. That encounter motivated me to finally confront my wife and officially start the separation and divorce process. I was really happy when I went home and sat down, waiting for my wife. I was actually grinning like a lunatic when I asked her to sit down and told her we had to talk. I told her I had known about her cheating for a long time. I told her I assumed she knew I knew, especially since I had checked out of our relationship for the last 3 months. She didn't seem to mind that I no longer cared. So I told her I wanted to start dating and get on with my life. I concluded my speech with, "All things considered, it's time for us to get divorced. Don't you agree?" Her reaction was not what I expected at all. She started crying, not just regular crying, but a desperate, soul-breaking noise. I have never heard anything like it. She was blabbering excuses, asking for second chances, saying the affair didn't mean anything, and that we could fix this if we tried counseling, etc. I was a bit shocked. I thought she would be happy. I told her she could go and be with this guy without guilt. If he was more important to her than her family, why did she go with him in the first place? She must have known this would destroy us. She can't possibly be that stupid, can she? I told her if she truly believed we needed to fix our family or marriage, the time to do that would have been 7 months ago, before she had the affair. Now it's too late. It's broken beyond repair. I didn't think we had any problems in our marriage. She didn't talk to me about any issues. I'm not a mind reader, so whatever it was, I had no way of fixing it. She obviously thought something was wrong, or missing, to justify her affair. Something had to be so lacking or so wrong that she was okay with having our children grow up in a broken home. If not, why do it? I clearly and calmly explained that there was no way to undo the last 7 months. There was no way to undo the pain and suffering she caused me, the pain that led me to this point of being indifferent, or actually, kind of hating her guts. I'm simply being civil for the sake of co-parenting our children in the future. I told her I didn't believe she ever cared about me. No person who cares about someone else would put them through this kind of pain. They wouldn't betray them the way she did. Her telling me that she loves me now has no meaning or credibility because her actions clearly prove otherwise. She became completely incoherent at this point. I couldn't make heads or tails of anything she was saying. It was just a jumbled mess. In the end, I had to call her sister because, honestly, I wasn't going to take care of her. Her sister showed up, and after I explained what was going on, she took her away. I felt a tremendous sense of relief when they were gone, like I could finally breathe for the first time in 7 months. I don't know what I'm looking for here. She must have known this was going to happen. She can't possibly be that stupid to think that her behavior and the choices she made wouldn't lead to divorce and a broken family. She is beautiful. She is smart. Our marriage was great until she started her affair. I've accepted that life changes. I've moved past it. Now she's pretending like she loves me, like she wants us to remain married and a family. What could possibly be her motivation for this drama at this point? What could she gain? I mean, she couldn't possibly expect us to try to reconcile, could she? It must be some kind of ploy, but I can't figure out what it is. I have lots of evidence of her cheating. I live in a European country, and this would mean no alimony or anything for her. Could that be it? Is she afraid I will out her? Could that be why she's begging for forgiveness? Anyway, I just had to get this out of my head. I was hoping it would make more sense typed out, but no, I'm just as confused now as when I started this rant. Update. Thank you to everyone. It's been overwhelming in many ways. I haven't had a chance to answer everyone, but I've tried to read everything. I posted 3 days after the conversation with my STVX Talud, and I had hardly slept. Actually, I passed out reading messages on my computer, and when I woke up the next day, I had an interesting keyboard pattern on my face and a much clearer mind. I decided to make some lists for and against key points. I put a bunch of papers on the wall. I made headlines on each of them. Our kids, how to behave when meeting the wife, my marriage, Monica, questions to ask my wife, etc. The final document is too big to retype here, so I'll just cover some of the main points. My goal was to figure out what core principles I wanted in place and what the most important things were to focus on. The kids are my #1 priority. I'll increase my efforts to help them deal with this. More individual counseling, family counseling. I'll arrange trips and spend more quality time together, making new memories. I'll also involve my side of the family to drown them in love and help them through this. I will also talk to their teachers, coaches, etc. I want to make sure their support system is immediate and everywhere. I got an STI test and have also booked ENA testing for the kids. Just thinking they might not be mine makes me very uncomfortable, but I have to make sure for their sake. If they're not mine, maybe there's some medical history they need to know about. What if they want to reach out to their biological father when they get older? How will they see me if I don't act now to make sure? Hopefully they are mine, and I'll be stressed until I get confirmation either way. I also talked to the kids' therapist first. Afterward, we explained everything carefully and let them ask as many questions as they wanted. I repeated over and over again that they could come to me with anything. I'm their dad, I love them more than anything, and I'll always be there for them, no matter what. As for my marriage, I came to the conclusion that I can never trust my wife again. Without trust, it's not possible to have a relationship. I also came to the conclusion that I do not love my wife anymore, not the person she has become. My love for her used to be a very big part of me, but she killed that with the affair. It totally changed my perception of her. Maybe I could learn to love her again, but to do that I would have to want to, and honestly I don't. It's better to end it and get on with our lives. I no longer want this marriage. I don't want her, the part of me that loved her, the part of me that used to feel endless joy and happiness when thinking about her, now fills me with dread and memories of pain. In fact, any thought of her now causes serious discomfort. Divorce is inevitable, and I want to get it done as soon as possible. Regarding Monica, I talked a lot to her. I had some concerns based on the feedback I got here on Reddit. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to jump into a new relationship. I also didn't want to bring her into my mess. Let's face it, my life is a total mess right now. Monica disagreed. She said life is messy, and we might as well see how we deal with it together while dating. I found out why she never married. She was engaged, but her fiancé died unexpectedly in a work accident almost 5 years ago. This devastated her. Even though she had gone on a few dates since then, she hadn't been able to form a connection with anyone. From her perspective, life is short, and you have to take risks when a true opportunity presents itself. I explained how I don't want to start anything until after the divorce is official. I don't want to cheat while I'm technically still married. She agreed and respected that. We also talked about how it could be perceived if we suddenly became a couple out in the open. People might try to frame her as the homewrecker. I don't want that. She agreed we'd wait a bit after it's official. I feel incredibly drawn to Monica. This phone call is borderline emotional cheating in my mind, so I will not contact her again until I am done with the legal separation. We agreed that I would get my affairs in order and contact her when I was ready, and we'd see what happens then. When it came to planning the meeting with my wife, I wrote down some principles on who I wanted to be. I wanted to make every effort in my meeting with her to try to be that man, the man I used to be before all of this. I decided I needed to stay calm. I would make every effort not to be cruel. I would keep in mind that the purpose of the conversation was to move on with our lives and co-parent as best as possible for the sake of our kids. Still, I prepared a list of questions to understand her thinking, both why she had the affair and what she was thinking about moving forward. I wasn't going to be deceitful. I wasn't going to give her false hope of reconciliation just to get some benefit in the divorce. I decided to act as fairly as possible. We'll divide all assets equally, and we'll have 50-50 custody. Even though she acted terribly toward me, I won't use her as a role model. I'll act in a way that I can stand by today, tomorrow, and 20 years from now. I hate her for what she did to me and to our children, but I love the memories of the good times we had together while it lasted, and I love the children we created and raised together. I will try to remember her in this light moving forward, not the cheating. I can't carry hate in my heart forever, so at some point I need to forgive her, not for her sake, but for my own healing. On Saturday, I went to see her. Her sister had warned me she wasn't in good shape, and she wasn't wrong. My STBXW looked absolutely horrible, bloodshot eyes, swollen face, unkempt hair. She looked many sizes smaller than I remembered, like she had imploded into herself. I doubt she has slept or eaten much this week. We all sat down, and my wife was shaking uncontrollably. I felt surprisingly calm. I felt for her obvious pain, but not as a loving spouse. I felt for her pain like I would feel for an actor in a movie I was watching. I don't know how else to explain it. It confirmed for me that I probably don't love her anymore. I just sat there and waited for her to collect herself enough to speak. She started several times but would break down crying. Watching her, it was clear that it wasn't an act. I've seen her cry many times before, but never like this. People can fake cry, but no one can fake the look of crying nonstop for a week, mixed with soul-wrenching sobs and snot bubbles. When she finally started talking, it was like a dam burst. She apologized with every other word. Surprisingly, she didn't try to excuse herself or shift the blame to me. Her sister cried too, and would sometimes berate her. Apparently, her sister had warned her this would happen. It's how her sister lost her fiancé a year ago. I didn't know that. Her sister's cheating gave my wife a midlife crisis of sorts. She started thinking about cheating more and more. In the end, it seems my wife did this because she had a crush on the guy and couldn't help herself. She never thought I would find out or that anyone would get hurt. It was a completely selfish act. She said she had been very happy in our marriage. She convinced herself that she deserved this fling and that I would support her if I knew how happy she was at the time. The situation described in the story touches on a variety of emotional and psychological factors, each of which is crucial to understand when addressing the complex dynamics of infidelity, betrayal, and emotional healing. Here's a summary of what psychologists might say about this scenario. 1. Emotional impact of infidelity. Infidelity causes deep emotional scars, affecting both partners in unique ways. For the betrayed partner, it can lead to feelings of betrayal, abandonment, and a shattered sense of trust. This can contribute to anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and sometimes even PTSD-like symptoms. The emotional turmoil in the story reflects how the protagonist went through intense pain, denial, and an eventual withdrawal from the relationship. 2. Communication breakdown. One of the key issues highlighted is the lack of communication between the couple, which is a common cause of relationship breakdowns. The wife's infidelity and the husband's long period of silence about his awareness of the affair both stem from poor communication. A healthy relationship requires honest, open dialogue, which could have allowed the couple to address any issues before they escalated into an affair. 3. The cheating partner's emotional confusion. The wife's behavior, her initial affair, and later begging for forgiveness, may reflect an underlying emotional conflict. Infidelity often stems from unmet emotional needs, confusion about one's desires, or a temporary lapse in judgment. While her plea for a second chance may appear manipulative or desperate, it likely stems from guilt and fear of losing the stability and familiarity of her family life. However, psychologists emphasize that these factors, while understandable, do not justify the breach of trust. 4. The role of forgiveness and trust. Forgiveness is a significant aspect of healing after betrayal, but it does not mean restoring the relationship at all costs. In the story, the husband struggles with the possibility of reconciliation, and eventually he realizes that he cannot trust his wife again. Psychologists would emphasize that without trust, a healthy relationship cannot be rebuilt. Rebuilding trust after infidelity requires deep emotional work, transparency, and most importantly, both partners' willingness to heal together. 5. The need for closure. The story reflects the protagonist's need for closure. His confrontation with his wife allowed him to express his pain and gain clarity about the future of their relationship. Psychologists often recommend such conversations as part of the healing process, whether or not the couple chooses to reconcile. Closure helps individuals process their feelings and move forward without harboring unresolved emotional baggage. 6. Impact on children. Infidelity affects not only the couple but also the children involved. The husband's focus on ensuring a stable environment for his children demonstrates a healthy approach. Psychologists would suggest that parents going through divorce should prioritize their children's emotional well-being by offering reassurance, maintaining open communication, and seeking family counseling if necessary. Children often blame themselves for parental conflicts, so it's essential to reinforce that they are not at fault. 7. Self-worth and healing. The protagonist's decision to move on with his life and refrain from entering a new relationship until after the divorce shows emotional maturity and self-respect. Psychologists stress the importance of taking time to heal after a betrayal rather than jumping into another relationship. Healing after infidelity is a long process, and individuals must rebuild their sense of self-worth and emotional stability. 8. Societal pressures. The story also highlights the external pressure from friends and family, urging the husband to give his wife a second chance. Psychologists recognize that societal expectations often complicate personal decisions, but they advise individuals to follow what feels right for their emotional well-being rather than succumbing to external opinions. In conclusion, psychologists would emphasize that infidelity is a deeply traumatic experience that requires emotional healing, self-reflection, and professional support. While reconciliation is possible for some couples, it must be based on mutual trust, transparency, and a sincere commitment to repair the damage. However, when trust is irreparably broken, as in this story, moving on and focusing on personal healing and co-parenting may be the healthiest choice.